Stranger slips woman note on date, she runs out the door. The phone listened in and captured everything. But it couldn't help how she felt on the inside. And now, as if things couldn't get any worse, she now had a sheet of paper in her hand. And what the stranger said really got to her. She needed to come to a decision. Hadia was well aware of how awful it was getting into the dating scene. She had been stood up, lied to, or just had an awkward date many times. But she still had hope that she'd find someone. She thought of it as a kind of interview, she just had to find the right person for her. She was ready for the next date, she put on her best lipstick, well pump me up played in the. She did her hair up nicely, and the weather was good, so it wouldn't get messed up before getting to her date. She arrived at the coffee shop. But if she was aware of how her date was going to go, she wouldn't have done. She walked in through the door and sat at a corner table. She ordered a latte and waited nervously. Then he got there. He was only 10 minutes late, which wasn't too bad. They had a pleasant conversation that consisted mostly of small talk. But when he started speaking of his interests, she froze. Hadia was a huge music fan. So, when her date mentioned loving one rapper in particular, she immediately knew who he was talking about and it filled her mouth with a sour taste. Still, people could separate their love of music from a singer's bad reputation. So she let it slide. The next trouble hurdle came only minutes later. It was a name she had never heard before, but her date went on and on like it was some kind of internet god. She patiently listened and asked a few probing questions. Each answer put an extra twist in her stomach. Something was off. But when he left to go to the bathroom, she felt the stranger beside her slide a note into her hand. Hadia read the 8 simple words with wide eyes. Her heart pumped with a new level of anxiety. It seemed a total stranger had confirmed her suspicions. She quickly whipped out her phone and looked up this life guru that her date idolized. It wasn't good, at all. She only had a couple more minutes to make a choice. She could grab her bag and leave immediately. However, part of her, the stubborn part, wanted to stay and put a figurative mirror in front of the man's face. He might have come in looking handsome, but that single tidbit of information had turned him ugly. She also started recording, for posterity. Hadia tried to compose herself as her date returned. The conversation immediately went back to the guru, but now she knew what was going on. Hadia probed with more insightful questions. Each answer left a sick feeling in her gut. Her anger was also on the rise. The hour she had spent in the shop felt like an eternity. But what was the note? What had a stranger behind her seen or felt that made him go as far as to poke his nose into someone else's date? The note was scribbled on the back of a pharmacy receipt. It read too many red flags. Run. Be safe, girl. He had seen the same thing Hadia had. It didn't take long for her entire body to scream that this guy was bad news. However, it was the life coach that sealed the deal and made him a slime bag. The man in question was a life coach who encouraged men to say rude things to women. Such as "you're only a 6. I only date 10s. That was just the tip of the iceberg. "You're average at best" was one title that lit a huge fire under Hadia. It was toxic thinking at its worst. There was no way she was going to change this guy, but at least she got the debate out of her system and made it clear what she thought about the guy. The failed date left in a huff, offended that she didn't swoon over his demeaning charms. She leaned back with a satisfied smile and sipped the last of her coffee. But that wasn't the only thing she was going to do. The stranger behind her had already left. However, she could still find a way to thank him. Hadia pulled out her phone again and headed to Twitter. She posted the story and the note. Although she was already aware of so many red flags, she was so appreciative that someone was trying to look out for her when he didn't have to. He was like a guardian angel. The post spread like wildfire. It was no surprise that it sparked a huge debate, an even larger argument, but she didn't care. That wasn't the point. She just wanted to say thank you. It was yet another failed date. But she was still hopeful that a great one was just around the corner.